Steph, Jay, Spotify, Couch Chronicles. Steph, Jay, Spotify, Couch Chronicles.
We are back.
Welcome back to the couch.
Couch Muffins.
The couch muff.
I am feeling chipper today.
Okay.
Energy.
Yeah.
I love that for us. All right, let's get it started. Your girl is responsible for mindfulness today.
All right, Jay.
And I want to do a mindfulness that focuses on just like releasing emotional residues, reconnecting
Need it.
back to our needs, and just really controlling our nervous system a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Here for
So
it.
I'm going to read my little script here. I'm going to ask that you sit comfortable, however that feels to you. And just slowly take a slow, deep breath in. And then exhale fully. Open your mouth to blow out. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. And just feel your feet on the ground. You don't have to hold anything right now. You just have to be present with yourself, your body, your sensations. Taking a deep breath when you need to. I want you to bring your awareness to what you've been carrying today. Your clients' stories, emotions, responsibilities, expectations. Just notice where that weight lives in your body. Is it your chest, your shoulders, stomach, head? No need to change it. Just notice it. And just notice and saying to yourself, this is what I've been holding. Allowing that to settle in. Noticing where you're carrying that weight. Now with each exhale, I want you to imagine setting something down that you've been carrying. A story, a feeling, a responsibility that isn't yours to carry alone. You can carry deeply without carrying everything. With every exhale, just imagine yourself gently setting something down that you've been carrying. I want you to silently say to yourself, this is not mine to hold right now. I can return to this with compassion. Just notice how it feels to give yourself that permission that this is not mine to hold right now. I can return to this with compassion. Let your body soften just a little more with each breath that you're taking. Now shifting your attention back to you, your breath, your body, your needs. Place a hand on your chest or your lap, whatever makes you feel comfortable, and ask yourself gently, what do I need right now? Is it rest? Is it space? Is it quiet? Is it support? Whatever comes up, let it be valid. What do I need right now? Is it rest? Is it space? Is it quiet? Is it support? Whatever comes up, just let it be valid. I want you to take a final deep breath. And you can repeat silently or out loud, whatever makes you feel comfortable. I am allowed to rest. I am more than what I give to others. I can care for myself too. Let's just repeat that one more time, either silently to yourself or out loud. I am allowed to rest. I am more than what I give to others. I can care for myself too. Taking a final deep breath, letting that settle in. Whenever you're ready, at your own time, slowly bring yourself back to the room.
Yeah.
All right,
I love that. I'm going to need you to share that with me.
I sure will. How was that?
I definitely noticed quite a bit of thinking. I think we were kind of, before recording, kind of already started talking about some things. Mm-hmm. And so the feeling that came up for me that I wanted to let go of was guilt. Like guilt around maybe not showing up for people in the ways that they maybe need, or like not being able to anticipate people's needs and feeling guilty about that. And I had this visual of me sitting it down on the table and walking away. And I noticed just a lighter feeling after that. Why have I been holding on to this for X amount of time, and kind of having thoughts about how I've maybe done that in other relationships as well.
Okay. So when you settle it down and you notice that lightness came over, you also notice the thought around how long have I been carrying this, and have I been carrying it into other relationships? Yeah,
how many spaces have I carried this into? Yeah.
Did you notice any sensation with that thought physically for you?
I noticed more a feeling of calmness, with my shoulders being down a little bit, and just feeling less tension. Once I set that guilt down and walked away from it.
All right. Did any judgments, any discomfort showed up?
No judgments. I think I was pretty non-judgmental. In fact, I think the guilt comes from a space of judgment. And so I think it was more of letting go of judgment about what certain things mean about me if I'm not able to meet other people's needs. So, yeah.
I'm curious, what was it like to ask yourself what you needed in that moment?
Yeah.
And also repeating the mantras and the affirmation of giving yourself permission?
It's funny that you asked that, right? Because I think that I've really been reminding myself more recently that I know exactly what I need, and I have the things that I need to take care of myself. So that's really been my ongoing theme for me and my wife, just trying to say, we have the stuff, even when we're having some challenges or things feel difficult, we have the things that we need, and we can continue to have access to the things that we need. So I really like that. And then the mantra felt very timely for the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And also needing to remind myself of that as a helping professional. I think sometimes we can get very wrapped up in supporting others and prioritizing that support of others, not wanting our own life experiences to to change the way that we're able to show up for other people. And so I have to be reminded that, like, yeah, you can also take space to take care of yourself too. Like, it doesn't always have to be other people's time.
I like that for you, friend.
Yeah.
I did.
Thanks for offering.
All right, Smiley.
Right. For my mindfulness practice today, I feel like what I wanted to let go of is I have a little bit of a nose or a head cold, like let go of feeling of that today, because that's definitely what I brought into the day, which I would like really much off of me. And then I and on a deeper note, was thinking about like modesty, like wanting to let go of this like performative modesty of like this feeling of like I have to
be good,
protect the image like of myself being the good girl, or at least like showing up in that way, and just being like more accepting, more celebratory of, you know, my body and the ways in which that come natural to me. Right. If I want to, you know, show myself off in more of a extraordinary or adventurous or risque manner, then it doesn't somehow make it so that like I'm only this thing, like I'm only a Jezebel, I'm only
not a Jezebel,
right? You know, right?
Not a little Jezzy,
the little Jezzy, right? Like I'm more than just like a temptress. I'm more than just like what my body
can offer, or
or what make it does to you. Like this could just be a sense of self-expression and not be more than that.
So when did those thoughts start to show up? Is it around what needed to be released? Is it
mostly around like what needed to be released, like feeling like, you know, that is something that I have carried because of other people, not necessarily because
that's been put
myself,
onto you,
right? Like to put on, and like feeling the needs to sometimes maybe safeguard myself by relying on modesty as like a protectant.
The cloak of the good girl.
Right. Very much so. Or more of the shield, right? Of like unwanted judgments or critiques or people making me responsible for things like their lust or like their naughty or dirty thoughts and things like that, just because of the ways in which that I, you know, showed up.
Okay. And what was it like for you in that moment to ask yourself what you needed in this moment, and also to give yourself permission with the affirmations?
I mean, it felt pretty easy in terms of knowing what exactly came up to mind, right? What I needed was pretty easy, pretty simple to come to. And then like being able to just like grab that and take that for myself, I think was also something that came with a lot of ease, which was nice.
Okay, good deal. And the reason why I ask that is that sometimes when we ask ourselves what we need in that moment, a lot of time when life is lifing and things are overwhelming, it's kind of hard to identify what the need is.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to identify and even sitting with yourself until you realize what you need. If you're doing a mindfulness practice or if you're pausing, it could go a long way in resetting yourself, and also bringing to your attention what's happening to you right now, because you may not even notice it was the feeling of overwhelm. But noticing that, but giving yourself permission to just sit and was like, oh, this is what's happening. Ew. Okay, this is what I may need. Or what used to work for me when I am actually experiencing this, or it's just something I just need to sit with.
Yeah, like maybe I don't always need to take action. You know, us three are action girlies. So sometimes it is like, or you just need to sit down.
Sometimes it is about being.
This mindfulness is a twofold, and I like the way I kind of put it together was pieces from everything that we've used. But I also, every time I do it, I'm like, make an attempt to engage in it, because I like, you know, I want to. And then I also, in that moment, as I was doing it with you guys, I was like, girl, you did that this morning. In this moment, doing my morning prayer, ask myself, okay, in this moment, what do you need right now? Like, just because I noticed, like, you know, ADHD. There was like an urgency for me, and sometimes I notice when I'm like rushing through something, and I'm like, okay, pause. What is happening? Where's the rushing coming from? And then realizing like, oh, we're not recording until later. Like, girl,
slow it down. Chill. We don't have to be hustling and bustle all the time.
Like you said, that like immediacy or just like that restlessness to get to something so that you can be done with it. I think a lot of us folks that are neurodivergent can really like relate to that thing of like wanting to run
The
to
angst.
something so that you can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is good. This is really good. And thank you guys for engaging.
Yes, thank you for offering. I love to be reminded that, you know, we got to take care of us as well. Yeah.
Speaking of us,
Yeah.
what are we talking about?
Therapists can be human too. Breaking the blank slate myth and discussing personal struggles.
No, therapists are human.
Yes.
We are human beings, flesh, blood. We cry, we curse,
Yeah.
we do other things.
And I do want to kind of start off by saying, right, like that the blank slate therapist obviously like is a real thing. That is was the foundation of providing clinical service. And
What is the
like,
blank slate therapist?
please
was
remind
taught
us.
to us. Blank slate is really trying to like not impose your emotions or your opinion onto the client. And so that is like not having an emotional response when a client may say something, whether it's like big, small, jarring, shocking, or like not laughing with your clients, not smiling with your clients, or interacting with your clients in an emotional way.
So would you say that a blank slate approach would be kind of mirroring the client? Like you are blank, so you're like a mirror to the other person. Because they see themselves.
I think I see mirroring more as like a reflection back of what the person is doing, where I see like blank slate is more of like, I'm just allowing you the space to have your full emotional experience without my input. And I do see that I see why that was put in place, right? Like, so that your emotional response does not impact the client's reaction or behavior, or that our clients don't become like performative in the space based on like what they might receive from us. Like my clients that are avoidant be cracking them jokes. And sometimes it's a laugh, and sometimes I'm laughing at you, and I'm gonna take note that you said that.
Right.
I heard what you said.
Right.
And I understand like the historical context of humor.
Right.
But we need to kind of bring it back to like what's going on here really. So
I've had issues with the blank slate.
yeah, I think it dehumanizes the therapist in a lot of ways, and maybe was helpful for some, but it's not helpful for the people that I serve.
No,
It
was
feels
helpful for
very
the ones who
white.
created it.
Well, who created it?
White
But white who?
men.
Right. So why would they want to
Correct.
take a blank stare approach? Because if you think about it, they're the
Maybe their
dominating-
own challenges with emotional connection.
Yes, their own talent. That's one way to think of it. I also think about the fact that if I'm the dominating person, everything was made for like me through my view,
Yeah.
my this, and the people who are coming to therapy at that time in the 50s, right, is when that talk therapy really started, were women. I can't really oppose my thing into it, because I will now dominate the space
Right.
and make it about what I think that you should be experiencing versus not.
Yeah.
So if I think about it from that approach of where it first started, it showed up as a way to allow the client
to have space,
to
yeah.
have a full opportunity
Yeah.
to experience, to express, without tailoring what they say to fit whatever the person it was that they were talking
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
would want.
And I think that is a valid thing, right? Like that is something that we're also looking out for. However, I think it really neglects the community aspect and the relationship aspect of the therapeutic space.
And the more, I think also the different categories, levels, pillars that come with like therapy. Because
Yeah.
talk therapy, it does make sense for you to be a blank slate if that person is just coming in
To talk.
be able to vent and to what's it called,
Express themselves.
exactly
Yeah.
release these things like in a soundboard or in a vacuum, and then come out from it. It's almost like a diary, right? Like a diary is blank. It gives you
not giving you anything
the
back.
opportunity to put your story on. It doesn't do anything to reflect back. But that's not the type of therapy that most of us are practicing
Or
need
benefit
to
from.
practice, and what our clients usually need.
Right. Agreed.
Because I'm always a rebel with a cause, motherfucker, okay? And because I'm a rebel with a cause, when the blank slate was introduced to me, That's why College Park, they'll never get the end of me.
Well,
But let's break down the word therapy, where it originated from. Okay, I love
love a history.
Don't you love that?
History lesson.
So the origin of the word therapy in Greek is therapian, which means minister to, treat medically. Okay? Therapia also means healing. Okay? Modern Latin treated as a healer to be connected to.
Right.
Mid 19th century, call it therapy, which is what they made it into. You can change the word to different spelling, but the meaning what?
Right. It stays the same.
Stays the same. So when I think about therapy and they're talking about the blank slate, it's hard to heal if you are not in relation with the
Correct.
person. I can't heal you if I can't feel you and you can't see the human relationship we have together. You can't say I'm different than you and you different than me if you don't see my humanness.
Right.
Then how am I supposed to recognize your humanness?
Right.
And if we're talking about ministering to somebody, am I going to take a message for someone who can't resemble my experience?
Right. Or at least
what I
relate
read.
or reflect to something.
Or
Like-
something. So that's why in the
Yeah.
19th centuries, when the word itself was colonized and taken over with, right, by white men, it goes into the power dynamic of what you talk about, right? And when you strip something from it, that's part of power and owning it, which then I'm going to teach others on how to, hey, this is the hierarchy, because that's what power and colonization do. Then you separate the connection that therapy actually has with the person that you are healing, and it put you
At
as
the
the
pedestal.
expert, as above, because that's usually where we are trying to take. That's what, when we colonize a people, we're trying to say, I'm above you, you below me. So that's why when you go to a doctor, you are the expert of your body. And if the doctor is not willing to hear for you as the expert and them as the expert in what they do based on what you report, then guess what?
The power
Then you are
dynamic's off.
It's off. And that's why a lot of times we don't get hurt.
Yeah.
So
No, first of all, thank you, Professor Jay, on the history lesson of therapy. I appreciate
I be trying.
that.
She gave me a C in that class, but I got that was interesting.
But what I wanted to circle back to is this idea of like the blank slate approach inherently creates a power dynamic between yourself and your client, because there is no way that you can relate if you stay uninvolved, right, like unaffected, unimpacted by what someone is saying, because in order to relate, I then have to meet the person where they are and then experience with them at that moment in order for us to communally work together to engage in this. But if I'm blank and I don't give anything, which if you think about it, in Western culture, isn't that supposed to be like a marker of like almost like emotional superiority?
Yeah, like if you're unaffected.
Like,
thank you.
Which is,
or like to not have emotions.
which is, again, it's just white. Like that is very like not the people that I see or engage with or who I am.
But I mean, even if you look at the counter, it's patriarchal, but even if you look at, it's white in terms of white patriarch, white men, but even if you look at white clinician or if you are a clinician in general, your innate nature is to connect, is to be in relation with your client, is to understand it, right? So
that's what I want to assume.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what we assumed going into it.
That's what I want to assume for the field.
But all of the shows that I used to watch that would have made me want to be a therapist growing up, I remember the show Necessary Roughness that was on USA back in the day. It was about a sports psychologist and things like that. And one of the things, she was a mom, right? So already having that very nurturing and that kind of like, I'm going to come down to your level, and the ways in which that she approached the athletes that she worked with wasn't blank slate at all. She was very like
invested.
Thank you.
And
It was
you
very
show your
real.
investment
And
through emotion.
I remember that's what made me want to be a therapist is like, oh, I can really relate and engage while still being professional, obviously, right? In terms of like not crossing a boundary that makes it difficult to do the healing. Like that's what that means. I feel like when you're talking about professionalism, but it's been, that word has been warped and weaponized in a way to sometimes I think keep certain
perpetuate
people in line
whiteness
in a way, because I got
it's
caught
definitely
with that
perpetuating
very
whiteness
early in my training, in grad school, working with this. She was an undergrad. She was dealing with anxiety, and I remembered, the ways in which I was talking to her. But I was in those preliminary kind of like therapy skills classes where you're only really supposed to do like active listening and like some of these things that the client was not asking for or like bringing into the session. And so I think I had made a suggestion of like, have you thought of like maybe writing some of the thoughts that you have down and just like seeing what the thoughts are from this perspective? Mind you, never done a CBT class, never really done, I've never been to therapy myself. So it's not like I used interventions or things that you had experienced. This is just a natural thing that came from me. My professor was like, oh, you're giving therapy advice, you're doing this, you're not qualified. And I was just like, well,
that felt like the natural next step.
And that's why he's teaching and he's not in the space. She's teaching and she's not in the space.
And I remember like
because notice how your natural gift, and I always say not everybody is made to be in this field. That I leave that at that. Because if you
like that was a human.
If you don't have, if you don't have the natural innate to want to connect and relate to people and meet them where they are, because it's like a fucking oxymoron. I always have a fucking problem with it because it's like you preach one thing, but you want me to practice another. So you tell me to do this, positive regards, meet the client where they're at, see what they are saying. You're not here to solve their problem. All of this, but then you turn around and kind of shift into a different type of realm.
Yeah. And I think that like many people are coming to the therapy space, like they might be coming to like solve an issue. When they're meeting with us, they might be coming to like change a behavior. Ultimately, they are really coming to be heard in a safe way. And a part of that like connection and expressing understanding is through like emotion. Like that's how people know that you're invested in what we're experiencing. Yes.
Even in sales, they say that like the people who make the best
you saw the person
are the person who are what's it
they
called?
Can
they
relate.
Feel like, oh, like this is somebody that I would like invite for dinner. Like, this is someone that I would do. Like that's what gets people willing to trust. I think that there is like a little bit of like that white coat syndrome where sometimes like there's a little bit of like not trusting doctors or therapists, or there's this initial, or you're therapizing because it feels like you're here and I'm here. Because how many times, I mean, you guys are out of the dating world now because you're both married, but like how many times?
Hold on now. I'm still in it because, I have clients and people and friends who are still dating, so I'm dating with them.
Okay, fair. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so what I'm saying is that how many times... I had to say, like, we senior citizens were you guys, what's it called, actively, like, pursuing a partner, and you inform them that you're a therapist. And the immediate thing is, you are judging me this whole time because there is
because there's this,
when I was dating it was,
there's this like assumption that like therapists are supposed to be like emotionally perfect or like are somehow like emotionally superior to the person. So now like you're projecting your insecurities onto me, thinking that I'm doing what I do for a check. For free
in my life,
right? In my day-to-day life, as I don't ever want to take a break from that.
Or just going back to what you said about thank you for recognizing my gift, is sometimes this is just a natural thing that we possess, and the things at which that you are showing are easy to read. It's not because we're doing anything so egregious or I'm turning on my superpower. It's just knowledge.
Like I have been intentional and chosen to seek knowledge to like help me be a better human and like to communicate differently, to understand people emotionally. And I also happen to use that as for a job. But Like being a therapist and having that knowledge or like having that connection with people was something that came to me long before I knew that I was going to be a therapist. I feel like I was always like the teammate that was like bringing the team together. Any team that I was a part of was fucking vibes. Okay, like we were having a time
because that's the energy we bring.
That's it.
Like talk about like unconditional positive regard.
Yeah,
that's what
always
I'm saying.
doing that with a lot of my like friends. I feel like it is an innate thing that we do as therapists. However, back to the conversation about that blank slate, I think that was my first run-in with that because I don't think that I know how to blank slate stuff. Like I bring myself into everything. Every country.
And I mean, girl, you're Nigerian. Y'all are expressive. Like the culturally very expressive. Y'all talk hard. You like are very passionate.
Black people, we talk with our hands. We talk with our body. We speak non-verbally, like through and through.
Yeah.
What do you know? This is the question. What do you think? Hey, what changed you? What's going on in our field? What's going on in our therapy field in terms of how we see
the therapy?
What do you think that?
There's a couple of things that are happening. I think on a more, a bigger scale or like a macro level, therapy as a profession is kind of trapped in between this like wellness model of wanting to like support healing while also perpetuating sickness. Yeah. Because there is like a lot of like therapy stuff that is weaponized. Go ahead, friend. Or there is like this drive to like keep people sick, you know, because it's a business. Yes. So it's like, I'm selling you wellness and I want you to heal, but I also need you to need me in some ways. So I always start my therapy sessions straight away with my clients like that. My job as a therapist is to put myself out of a job. I am meant to help to support you to get to a point where you can then sustain this long beyond our relationship. No client of mine believes that they are going to be with me forever. Despite if they want to, when I'm having the conversation, they're like, what you mean? You're trying to get rid of me? Right. I'm like, no. But I would be doing you a disservice if I was holding on to you forever. Because that is not the approach that I have to therapy. On the other side of that, it is also lucrative. It's a business. People make money. Their insurance companies have latched on to it. Therapy is so it's very different.
Like healing practices that end. Like that are meant to end. Think about it. Doctors, you see them forever. Dentists. Forever.
Well, I think that there's some systemic reasons for that too, right? Like that maybe also kind of plays into this idea that like the medical model is not really intended to heal.
True. But even when we look back in like traditional practices of medicine, you're going to get ill or you're going to get sick or something's going to happen in the like vestige of your life. Like you don't stay
in the physical state of your life.
Right, like unblemished. Exactly.
Oh, sure.
Like you don't unblemish your whole life. So like a cold, a cough, like even the fact that like bacteria and viruses are evolving in the same way that we are.
So there's always going to be a thing. Yeah.
And so I think that because mental health has a very different way of approaching healing than some of these other medical models of where it's like you are meant to just notice the facts and that's it. With like medicine, it is just the facts. Like it is what does the lab say?
Right.
What is this compared to this? What does this blemish or this cut look like compared to this? So it's very like cold hard. And I think in the pursuit of making our science, like our science of like working with people's mind substantial enough or like as good as some of these other medical
we've adapted to standardize.
To like exactly standardize or make ourselves feel more professional, more scientific.
Or measurable,
think about, like, scientific, you have to be blank because you don't want to mix up
you don't want to interfere with your results.
But we got away from the fact that when you're working with people's emotional experiences, when you're working with people's life experiences, you can't really standardize something as much as we would like.
Jay said something earlier too that stood out to me around like like therapy being a luxury, and that is also a challenge, right? Something that is an issue in our field around like accessibility to good care. Like there is a lot of like the therapy, don't get me wrong, like becoming a therapy is a really difficult thing to do. It's challenging, it's rigorous, like your programs take a lot out of you. It transforms you emotionally if you really intensify. Like it can be expensive, but that access starts at that level, right? Like who actually has access to even be able to go to school? Does that person reflect the clientele that they anticipate seeing? Most often, no. And I think that now we're at a time where that is being squeezed even more. And so like you think about like maybe my therapist doesn't even have the opportunity to get access to be licensed because of like systemic shit. So now like our people are forced to see someone who maybe is not emotionally or culturally aligned with them, cannot connect and create that safety in the relationship, and sometimes just reinforces the shit that you was coming in for.
You know, with medicine and medical period, I do think, I don't care if you're a medical doctor, I don't care if you're a mental health provider. There has to be a relational system. You can't have a blank slate. Even if I'm going to my doctor for any physical medical
I'm looking
thing,
for that.
I am, you have to look at the fact that I need you to treat me like you would treat yourself, like you would treat your spouse, like you would treat your children, like you something. Yeah. So I think to also dehumanize that for them, I also don't think it's fair, though they've been told they need to do that.
Caused a lot of problems with a lot of folks.
And then my second thing around that is because the fact that for the longest time we paid more attention to people's physical. At some point we lost paying attention to people's soul, spirit, mental, mind, and focused on their physical bodies. Because disease and things has always exist. But if you're looking at biblical ways, if you're looking at ancient time, they cared about your soul. They cared about your spirit. They cared about the mind. Right. And then they saw that the mind was a powerful tool, and what happened is there was also neglectful of the body, but there wasn't really a neglectful of the body. Then disease started coming into play. When disease started coming into play, then all of it now, then the mind just becomes secondary when it was always primary. But technically the truth is they're very interconnected.
Very much.
So as a clinician, when you're human, you have to think about the fact that I always tell, to your point, I tell clients the first session that we are in a relationship with each other. I don't care if I'm working with an individual. I don't care if I'm working with a couple. The couples be laughing. I say, hey, we're in a threesome in this mug. Okay? Okay? It's me and you. Look, I said, the way you treat her, you're going to treat me the way you treat him. You were treating out here. So when y'all show up in the space, you don't respect your time or you disrespect me. It's the same thing. I'm going to behave that way. And me saying that we are in a threesome, also for them, let them feel that they have an accountability partner in me, right? And I always, whenever they ask, how about you? How you been? I am honest with my client.
Very much
I am present. I am tired. I am this. I am overwhelmed. But right now, seeing you, get me back on track.
Right.
You know, I might, there's a sense of also the disclosure of showing that part of myself to them that they get curious about. Now, what I think get tricky though, because of the world, what I say change also, what I was also thinking about is the fact that now we are a culture. Therapy is something to wear. It's like the
hot.
new fashion. It's like the new thing that shows up.
Or it looks good to be in therapy.
I've been in therapy.
Not doing shit, lying to your therapist.
And you have, let me tell you, you have influencers, celebrities, everybody talking about it in a way that sensationalized. And now you have, I'm biased and I'm going to acknowledge my biases. The upcoming young therapists now, to them majority of them, I feel like going to therapy, especially the one that are out to promote and be on social media, which I don't have any problem with, can also become a thing to do and lose track of the commitment that they made to heal.
Are you trying to be a celebrity or?
Yes. So what changed is the fact that therapy now has become this new culture that everybody want to learn about,
Yeah.
want to know, want to become, or want to engage. And then what kind of separates that when we show ourselves in the way of we've always been showing ourselves, then
Yeah.
there's a sense of you shouldn't be behaving this way because you
Correct.
are a therapist. You shouldn't. Now, are there some instance where there's valid? Like,
I think that there's just certainly should be some like moral
yes,
boundaries
Based on
if
the
you
co-
are making the commitment to being a
there's
therapist.
some ethical
Because I
things that
do
you should
think
follow. Yep.
that a part of being a therapist is also a commitment to your own work. Because you will inevitably show up as yourself in the therapy space, whether you're masking and trying to blank slate or not, you are going to show up as you. So if your shit is fucked up, you're going to be spreading that to your clients.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to be contaminating the room, how you see your people, how you're able to engage with them non-judgmentally, what you're able to offer them,
Yes.
how you can navigate countertransference.
Yeah, we're
All
one of
of
the
that.
few professions where our laundry will stink into somebody
Yes.
else's stuff. Like
Yes.
a doctor can be depressed, can have a shitty
Yeah.
day. I mean, eventually it will catch up with
They
them.
could shorten your
But-
session with them for 20 minutes.
Right,
15,
but
and
with
move
a
on.
therapist, a social worker, these folks
Yeah.
like that work with humans and work in the deep end of people's emotional experiences. You can't divorce yourself and your stuff from the experience as much as you will try.
Yeah.
Like you can. There are healthy ways in which that you create a certain level of distance between
Yes.
yourself where you don't make it your own thing. Because I think another reason why maybe younger clinicians lean on that blank slate approach is because they have certain clients who take offense or make it the therapist's responsibility that they feel some type of way because you have an emotional
I
experience.
think they haven't built the stamina around how to navigate that as well.
But it's also, I think, very human for people to feel like someone has told them that you can't react or you can't
Yep.
show up in a particular way because now I feel some type of way. I literally had a client call me about a few therapists that they have seen because they didn't like the fact that the person's face reacted when they said certain things. Mind
Yeah.
you, emotions, just for our viewers, emotions happen both an internal experience, but there's a lot of external. Like you express,
And
even when you don't think that you do, because
eyebrows
emotions
going up.
are hardwired into our being. So
Yes.
you might think you're holding your face, but other things are happening. You're tensing here. So if you're over controlling in one place, you're going to be under controlling in another place.
Yeah.
And so back to that client, right? Because the client is so controlling of how they want everyone else to manage them. When the clinician made a expression that they're allowed to have, they pounced on them on that. And back, to your
That
point,
experience.
they didn't necessarily maybe have a supervisor or maybe the experience to work that. But I think that is why people
Yeah.
choose that blank stare, because it protects them from maybe being accused of altering someone else's experience.
Yeah, and I think that we all work with not necessarily young in age, but newer clinicians.
Yeah.
And that is certainly a pattern that I see across the board and something that is a pivotal part of my clinical supervision. A part of you finding your clinical identity is also how can you be yourself?
Finding your own.
Finding your own
Knowing your
identity.
own.
And the
And they
amount
get
of people
thrown
that
off.
come, I mean, and myself included. Obviously, this is I always feel like I'm the best version of myself at any
Every
moment,
time.
right?
And
But
you should
this version is better than a version that when I started therapy, being a therapist almost 10 years ago.
Girl, that version was a nightmare for me, but
Exactly.
It was a beautiful nightmare.
A beautiful nightmare. But I think that the openness to flexibility and
Yep.
change is what it's how I've been able to maybe forgive myself for the ways that I showed up that were not so great. But also it's helped me to be more firm in my identity.
Do you think that, we there's different levels of self-disclosure that we are taught to give, right? And it's based on your discrepancy, if the topic relates to it. What are your thoughts around therapists sharing their struggles with their clients?
What, you mean sharing
self-disclosure?
Self-disclosure of sharing their own
you're
personal
blowing me?
struggle.
Not like that though.
No,
No,
right.
well,
sharing their own personal struggle.
Just sharing their own
personal
stuff.
struggle with their clients. clients?
I have a good friend who also is a therapist. And shout out to Tia, but she is
She's gonna be on the show.
hopefully. But she had a supervisee, and she talked about like the person was doing more like self-disclosure and like under the pretense of wanting to be relatable to the client. And like I really liked the feedback that she gave this person around like asking yourself why you are disclosing. Like, is the desire to be relatable more for you, or is that more for the client safety? So there can be a thin line between like making the session about you and wanting to create a safe and relatable space, and being curious with yourself around why I am bringing this up. Unfortunately, therapists are human. So there's a lot of people that overstep their boundaries or like change the course of the space and making it about them. And we just kind of have to figure out what that balance is. And if it is more aligned with like, I'm trying to make this connection about myself and less about creating the safety for the client, then you maybe know like I might need to hold back.
And I don't think that there's any therapist or counselor out there that is like free from sometimes, you know, potentially like
Transferring,
overstepping or transferring. I think is a great way to say. Like, I feel like there are moments where your agenda might be showing up more than you realize, even if it is in pursuit of like your value
connection,
system, right? Like, oh, well, I want to be a good therapist, so I'm gonna, you know, do the blank slate approach because that's what a good therapist does. That could be seen as transference because in that moment you're upholding what your needs are versus what the client
other person
is asking or what is needing in that particular moment. Or maybe it's I feel like this client isn't working hard enough or shouldn't be in this relationship. Or I work with a lot of folks that have experienced coercive control or are in abusive relationships. And because I feel this, you know, my own value system is around women having autonomy and freedom and all of those things will show up. I can find myself at times showing up with a sense of protection that is more along my
your
need to help them get out of this than maybe their readiness to be there and having to be able to acknowledge that, take accountability of that. There's plenty of times I'm like, actually, you know what? Like in the last session, I realized that I was showing up in a way that didn't maybe honor where you were coming from. And I just really want to say that I really apologize for like pushing you maybe more than you really, mind you, they may not even realize that, but I realized that. And I wanted to get ahead of it to say that. And more of the times you're like, no, like I really appreciate your insight in that way. Like, no, it really showed this, but I would rather it be.
It built that moment, build a level of trust they had with you that you didn't have with them. And that's where I want clinicians to also understand. There's self-disclosure to your point when it's relevant. What is the function? What is the purpose? And then there is, I am struggling.
Like emotional
whether
experience.
it's still burnt out, whether my life is a mess right now. And the problem why it leaks into your session is because we don't give ourselves permission to say, I need a mental health day. I gotta have my check-in. Instead, because you're working, you feel like since I'm holding space for this person or I've had rapport with them, let me do that. Then that's what damages the relationship. Because now if the sessions become about you holding space for you, because you don't know how many clients I get who say, well, my previous therapist, I felt like I was more of the girlfriend or the guy friend or whatever. Or I felt like I was in charge or responsible for them and so forth. Because then the dynamic shifts.
Right.
And I think as clinicians, we do have to ask ourselves, right? Are we doing ourselves a disservice by not noticing that we are struggling? And sometimes we use the work as the reason why we struggle.
Or minimizing our struggle.
But if your life is not where you wanted it, it has nothing to do with the work. It has to do with you and your need to take time to figure it out so you can show up in the space where you're able to share that lived experience with your client as you're coming out of it and not deal with it there. So what Stephanie did with that particular client is acknowledging the fact that, oh, there's some stuff in me that I noticed that's showing up that I had worked through and realized, because what she let the client know is that, oh, I've kind of been in your place, so we're relatable. I know what it is. And I also realized that's not where you are. And that's on me, ownership, accountability for putting you in that position, making me feel like you was ready to approach that. I apologize for that. Now,
I think
what
that also
Stephanie
models like
it
relationship
models
repair too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what Stephanie did now let me reintroduce myself to where you are.
Yes.
And then now Stephanie gave herself a clear lens of looking at the client and not herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
You
think
have-
that's
you
the
have
part.
to, as a clinician, learn how to juggle both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the few places where you have to juggle them at the same time. It's not
Thank
one of the
you.
things that you can place on, the cupboard or
Yeah.
in the shelf for later and then
Exactly.
return back at the end of the day. I think also when we talk about like the blank, slate approach and why I think that is something a lot of clinicians maybe lean onto is I kind of feel like
There's
people
some
don't have an
safety
approach.
there.
Yep.
No.
Thank
And
you.
I
I genuinely
think,
don't
but I
think they
think
don't
that
have
too,
anywhere to they don't have a school of thought. They don't have a way to conceptualize.
because there's a lot of rhetoric online, unfortunately, that is like over identifying with a particular modality or framework can be oppressive in some ways, which is not untrue, right? Like, because we do recognize that many of the evidence-based practices are not, the evidence is not based on the people that maybe look like us or that we might serve. However, I always try to bring people back to the point that like you feel disorganized in your work because you don't have a framework. You feel unsure about what you should do when the client is bringing this particular thing to you because you're not grounded in a framework. You don't have to be married to that and never go outside of it. But it does help to know how you want to conceptualize your client's behavior and experience in some way. That was the point of going to school.
And I also want to add that I think the evidence-based practice that you're referring to is CBT. That's the one that most
CBT, DBT, honestly,
I mean, get it, but most fresh clinicians, they're not exposed to DBT.
No.
They're exposed to skill of use tip and use this through the framework of CBT of like
but not
the
the
way in which
orientation.
that you're showing up is wrong. So do this instead.
Yeah.
That's why I think that they're coming off of the like, oh, if you use this, it's oppressive, because CBT kind of comes off of this place that most folks are engaging in irrational beliefs, thinking, feeling, those type of things. And so then us as the expert is now going to tell you that's irrational and then how to shift it. Most folks, they're not, because person-centered, that one out of all the first way, that is probably the most culturally
sound.
But people don't actually know
what that is.
What person-centered is. They'll just be
they
like,
think person-centered is like letting the client lead the
they're like,
session.
and I'm like, you do know that, at least from what I tell with all of my supervisees, and I know they were sick with me, hey guys, or they love me, but it's like, I'm always like, well, you do know that there's pillars that are underneath this. Like, so there's unconditional positive regard, there's genuineness, there's congruency, there's all of these things. How did you use this stuff to then build, to highlight the strength of a client? How did you use this to help the client already know that they are the expert? They know what to do. They just are kind of missing a few steps in between. That is the thing that most people should probably start off doing and building from, but they don't get the proper education behind it. Everything is kind of like sped up of like, let me give you all of these quick, fast, in a hurry. That's why people fall into CBT, because like, oh, this seems
it gets results.
tangible. It seems like intuitive.
And people want like skills. Very many people are coming like in a very fix me way, and a behavioral therapy will feel like it's doing that. And when used improperly, it will do that.
Right.
Yeah, but I do think that like when we think about humanizing the therapist, one thing that I think has also shifted the way that we see therapy is like providing telehealth services. That has really like made it a little bit more casual than it perhaps has been in the past. Some of the things that I hear and see on the internet, or even like clients that are coming to me that have experienced, I'm like, now why would somebody with a license do such a thing? So like this idea that like, you want to be relatable and you want to be a person, but you do also need to create a therapeutic space that is I don't want to use the word professional.
That is
more
appropriate.
structured
Yeah.
and appropriate.
To
Yeah.
the care that you're being provided, because it don't make no sense.
That's appropriate to the relationship.
Shit in my eye, therapists and counselors. There's may make no sense why you are doing a therapy session while you're in between shopping, when you're over here, what's it called, doing errands, while you're what's it called,
In your car.
In the bed.
You can be in the car stationary as long as there's nobody else in there. Your kids should not be around being able to hear what your person is doing. You should be fully clothed while you're talking to people.
Yeah.
The people be over here undressed.
But it's also like, are you prepared to engage in the therapeutic relationship? It's not a kiki.
People act like that.
I'd be embarrassed.
Because social media has shifted to this thing of like, oh, like I'm having a
Be your
FaceTime with my
authentic
friend
self.
to make it more casual, a little bit less
it is kind of cloaked under the idea of being of accessibility,
of realness,
but
right?
it's
of
like
all of these things, but the reality is we're doing and talking about real shit.
And it's not like a conversation with your friend. It is a medical service, and I think we have lost the plot. And telehealth has made it easy to do that because there's less oversight around what that looks like.
I tell people right off the bat, if you're I don't know, you can't be driving on your way to something else. You may stop what you. I'll hit you up. Or you can call back in once you are
you're stationary
and you are able to what's it called, pay attention. Because what I can't stand, my thing as somebody that does and I do telehealth probably 99% of the stuff that I do, is when you're doing telehealth, if you're not prepared, because people won't have no homework, they won't have any of the journals to write any of the stuff. So how exactly are you expecting to generalize the work that you're doing in this therapy session? That's a big work. If you didn't set yourself up in any kind of way to absorb the information.
Well, we all are clinical supervisors here. What that means is that we supervise clinicians that don't have the full hours.
I'm trying to
license here.
help them come on that.
Right.
To that full licensure.
The stories that we have had around, and we all are managers of either some practice and as well as on our own.
Yeah.
And the stories that we have witnessed around this new wave of unprofessionalism is what I'm calling it, because is the fact that a client should not want to change a therapist because they just realize, oh, I thought you were talking to me, or you said I love you when you were hanging up the phone. Because you were around an aunt's party, or hear noise in a background where your kid come in and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." They don't even understand.
Child be embarrassed.
They don't even notice the HIPAA. It don't matter if your kid don't understand.
And HIPAA is not a fucking joke. That is not a game.
Sue for that, and some clinicians do not know that, and I keep that shit serious and real with them around that. You know, yes, you get the convenience of it. Also understand, to Stephanie's point, don't come in a space where you're not prepared.
Yeah.
And we have clients who say, well, I want to switch because they don't recall the last time what they would call from the last session. And it's a major event that I shared with the therapist, but the clinician don't remember. You know, because you're writing shit down.
Because there's no preparation.
There's no preparation for that.
Around to different places, or the disconnection.
Or you looking like you're on your bed sleeping. Like, it don't feel like I'm comfortable. So I think, what's disheartening to me, and even now as I approach therapy, is the fact that this new wave of clinician, even the old ones too, and I repeat that 4 times.
Actually.
Right, even the old ones too, is the fact that, it's the fact that we are forgetting, to Tyler's point, these are people's lives.
This is a service. I'm not fucking around with nobody's life.
These are people's lives that we have in our hands, and how you show up does matter. And if you don't take care of yourself, being in the therapy space is not a place for you to take care of yourself.
It's really not a place for you to fuck around.
Yeah, it really isn't. And I think that, like, as 3 Black clinicians, I think that, we will naturally take on the advocacy space, the breaking the stigma in each of our communities around what mental health is, and like shit like that. It just chisels away at the mission.
Exactly.
Like, I'm trying to teach people that this is a space that is to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
And people talking about their therapist is asking if it's okay for them to take their braids out in the session.
See shit like that. That's
and I'm not even on any like people get very wrapped up in like respectability politics, and
Respect
to me
yourself. Like,
that's not the same. Like, this is a medical space. I think that has also made it difficult for me to find my own therapist. I go into therapy sessions with a lot of preloaded judgments. Y'all talk shit about me, but I definitely I finally started with a new therapist this week. And prior to the session, I had like a lot of, even just being on the search, I'm just like already having my list of shit that is like, if this person do this, I'm immediately never going to see them again.
What was on your list?
Things that are on my list, if you don't make direct contact or direct eye contact or connection with me, it's a wrap. While I was in grad school, I had a really intense breakup with a partner and friends, and I went to see a therapist. She was a white woman, so that was already a red flag for me. Sorry. Like, not that I don't believe that white women can work with people of color, just was not what I was looking for. She never removed her notebook from her face.
Oh, okay.
She sat in the entire session with the notebook up like this. Never even saw what the fuck her face looked like. I immediately knew after that, I'm never going to see you again, girl. Do you remember what I look like? So there's certain things that are relationship building that I'm already looking for. And then I don't know if this is like one of my own just like power dynamic things or just like my own history. I have this feeling around like, I want you to be a better therapist than me, that I've really been trying to let go of, because I'm like, what makes them a better therapist? I couldn't even really define what that is.
Doctors are the worst patients. Clinicians are the worst.
But I'm looking for the shit, because I'm just like, the moment I feel like you're taking up the space or you're doing something that I'm like, or if I feel like you're not as, I think what I mean by like you're a better therapist than me is like, I need somebody that's gonna be able to call me on my bullshit. If I know that I can come in here and tell you like part of what I want it to be, and like that's that, and you're not really curious or like asking me what's missing, it's not gonna work.
So can I ask though, how much of that is you placing the responsibility on the other person to get you to do something that you're supposed to be doing?
Exactly. And I think that is a big part of why I've been like nervous about getting a new therapist. But I did have to, like, in this particular search, I did have to realize that like some of that was me. Like some of that is like, you need to be responsible for like showing up in an honest way, regardless of if you feel like the therapist is skilled enough to handle that or to navigate
because
it.
A lot of these
because that's
things,
also
right,
me
like
not being the client.
Because technically a lot of those things are coming from assumption space with little to no evidence really to, because if you just came
no evidence about that person, but definitely past experiences.
Yes. I would not say that with those folks, because you definitely had a lot of call with them for sure. But I'm talking about this person, right?
Yeah.
If it's the first time you low-key meeting them and showing up, there isn't really anything
to go off
of
yes.
to like say that they're not good or not. Like, because to be frank, it takes a solid 5-ish sessions for us to really conceptualize. And even then, what clients usually come into the session as
it's not really what you're,
the real gutter of what you're going to get. It's probably going to be 6 months to a year before you really see the full bloom of a client, or even a clinician as well too, right? So like this is not only to you, Tyler, but I feel like this is to other folks as well too, is that like if a client comes in and says, look, I feel like I don't get you, validate them. You're right.
Yeah. Help me understand.
I don't think that I don't get you because I only see you this amount of time, and the full spectrum, right? Like the full technicolor of your experience cannot be summarized into this moment. So what am I missing that you can help me get to?
Exactly.
And I'm not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
Therapy is for you. It is not for me. And therapists have to stop personalizing when they get fired by clients,
Yeah.
as if it's they're doing something wrong.
You do need to self-reflect.
Yeah,
Like, did you
it is not,
show up in a professional way?
You do need to. And at the
So
same
once the reflection is
time,
done, let that shit go.
you know, just like people out there need to know that, hey, do not stay in a therapeutic space that you don't feel comfortable with or is not feeding to you. And therapists need to be okay with the fact that it's nothing about you that you necessarily need to change. And there may be some shit that you do. And be okay with the fact that
just
you're not
leave out of the
everybody's cup of
space.
tea.
Yeah.
I am a fantastic therapist, as I would like to say to
That she
myself.
is. That
Agreed.
she is.
And I also,
for
I'm not
everybody.
everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I have had clients who come see me. They had this
I'm just
persona.
curious. I'm curious, Jay. Which
about-
clients aren't your cup of tea? Which ones?
As I would like to continue, what I was saying is the fact that I have people who want to work with me until they realize what it takes to actually work with me.
Yeah.
And they're not ready for that. I'm not changing who I am. Let me be clear. Because if I were, then I'm never going to be authentically me.
Yeah.
But it did take time for me to understand, like, oh, Jay, there's nothing
What kind
wrong
of clients
with
are
you
for
that
you.
you need to be. And what are clients that I am more open to working with.
Yeah.
You know, since you wanted over here put my business out there like this,
I mean,
so I'm
you
gonna
be
let people
putting me out there
know.
as
You
if
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
As Love Island.
You know,
so.
I can't deal. Look. Let me tell you. Look, there's something about. I don't have no problem with fragility. I don't have no patience for foolishness and stupid shit. Like, if you're going to do your work, like, do it.
Be ready to
just
do
like
the
I tell
work.
clients all the time. Hello, Onyx. How are you? Just like I tell
Boy.
clients all the time, right? I tell clients all the
know
time.
damn well.
I'm gonna give you 100% of me in the session.
Yeah.
You give me 100. You give me 80, I'm gonna give you 80.
Yeah.
Bitch, you give me 70, go see somebody else and give you 70. Because I don't have the energy for 70. Because 70 to me is just not where
Why
I'm
are
at.
you wasting
and
my
there's
time
nothing
and
wrong with
yours?
70. I'm just not the therapist who's gonna give you 70 because you're gonna have a problem with my 80, with my 100. I cannot go below that.
Yeah.
And I know my limit, my caps. And a lot of time, therapists do not acknowledge their limit, their capacity.
That's true.
And also what you are. And another thing, if you
And
are
another
not
thing.
trained in something, do not pretend to be trained in something. Do not
Shit.
pretend to have the knowledge
If you're
in
not a
something.
couples therapist, don't be giving out
Don't
therapy
be
to
giving out
couples.
shit. Like, refer people out. I refer people out all the time.
Yeah.
Do I have knowledge in the diagnosis or the symptomatics? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm trained
Or
to
an
work with it.
expert in that,
Do I
yeah.
know the intervention? Yeah. I know the basic of that shit. Can I practice that intervention? Absolutely
Can
not.
I learn?
So do
Sure.
not take it because you want to, prove something to yourself, or you want to get the money, or you fuck up the client more.
Yeah.
But be mindful of what your niche are.
And just a disclaimer for the new clinicians,
Yeah.
like people who are there. We're not saying that because fresh out of grad school,
You're gonna get
low-key,
clients you
don't
never
have
seen.
any
You're
experience
gonna get
at
clients
all.
you never
Zero
seen.
most of the time. So it's not
Exactly.
saying that you should just be like, I don't know anything, transfer out. Definitely give it some try. I would say probably like 6 months, right? Because that's what a treatment plan time for you to be able to see. Okay, this area is something that I have done some extra learning. I've talked to my supervisor about it. Like, we really worked on it, but I find that it's just not really my niche. I don't really understand, or I'm not really getting the results that I'm looking for in terms of like my expertise going up. That's when you would refer out. But if you're a clinician that's like 4, 5, 6 years in the game, for some, at that point, you'll have some degree of like understanding of what your
Niche
like
is.
population is, the one that you like to, work with, the approaches that you do well with. And so you would want to lean more into that because that is your best work,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's your flow state.
Right.
And that's where you want to be. Just opening
Right.
the door to any and everything. That's what then makes people start engaging in that blank slate or more of those
Or
kind
just
of
not
like
helpful.
ineffective practices.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and another thing, but I'm not saying another thing. I won't say another
Let's get to our quickie.
But we're going to get to our quickie. But what about the part about the social media that blurs the line with therapists and influencers?
The thing is, I think that there is a need for visibility, particularly therapists that look like us, because the mission is to get buy-in, to get
Yes.
people to want to engage in therapy and change the way they think and the way they interact in their relationships. But I do think that social media also comes with a level of validation and instant gratification that can sometimes take people away from the
real work.
purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
You get kind of quick, fast like skills or interventions that like are helpful for like a brief moment. Like I think about those like distress tolerance skills, right?
Yeah.
You need them for the moment, but if you continue to use them without like working on the underlying issue, then it becomes an avoidance tactic. And I feel like that's kind of what social media can get you into. It's a good kind of like teaser, like let's see like what's going on here. But if you use it as your sole way of healing, you are then using it as an avoidant tactic. And I think that unfortunately, even though visibility is something that we want and you want people like us to be seen, the algorithm doesn't like. I'm going to be straight up. Like, it does not like when Black women are talking about mental health stuff. It doesn't always push it as much unless, going back to what we talked about before, we're the cream of the crop. We have all of the degrees. We have all of these things, and we're constantly throwing things into social media. But if you are a white woman, a young white woman,
right at the top,
an older white woman, if you are a Black man, because they love when Black men talk about therapy stuff. If you are a queer Black person that talks about what's it called, but a man, I'm talking about it blows up with the quickness. But if you are a Black woman, cis Black woman, who's talking about these things, it's not going to push it.
It's different.
I've just seen that more than not. There's like a paywall up. So kind of thinking about that out there for those of us who are really trying to do the social media thing in terms of giving people information to like expose people to knowledge, into tips, into
the intention
just
is
like
right there.
Psychoeducation. Like if that's what you're looking for, just know that it's a slow burn. It takes you having to kind of like stretch yourself a little bit more. And so if you're going to do that, recognize that you also need the rest and like the realisticness of you're not doing anything wrong. That these people are blowing up and you're not.
For sure. Good deal. Okay, let's get to our couch quickie. Is it appropriate for therapists to self-disclose about their own mental health diagnosis? What is the help or harm? And is it okay for providers to work with clients if they experience more severe diagnoses like BPD or bipolar, things that maybe are more relational?
That's a good question. I think the first part I think it is appropriate to disclose if it is in relation to what it is that is being talked about. So for example, I work with a lot of women and women who have ADHD and a lot of women who up until like their 30s, 40s, did not know that actually diagnosed with ADHD.
Men too, though, because they've been coming as well.
And and there's a high. So I will often like use an examples of myself of saying like this is something that I have noticed with me that I've related to ADHD. Do you have similar things that you have experienced that related to this?
Sure.
And I don't say it just like out of the blue. It's usually they've given me a few different inklings up until the time that I actually like disclose that they're having some challenges in this area, or they've talked about these things in these other areas. And so my pattern recognition will be like, boop, 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 boop. This is an example of what shows up for me. How do you relate? And more times than not, they're like, yes, this is exactly what I've been experiencing. And sometimes I'll lean into like using more like social media clips, like instead of like maybe using me, I'll kind of like use something that is similar to what they've already disclosed that I know is related to the symptom to show them. Yeah,
and I do think that like sometimes self-disclosure of your own things does create like some more balance in the relationship where it does maybe change that power dynamic of like feeling like assumptions that people have that like the therapist has it all together or like they don't have these particular issues or challenges. So I will bring things up sometimes in that same way, Stephanie, where I'm giving an example of like, this is something that has worked for me with managing my own symptoms and things like that. I also do think that we want to be careful around like how it impacts the therapeutic space. Like, am I sharing in a way that is now taking over the therapeutic space, or if my client has like certain boundary issues in relationships where they find themselves trying to take on other people's things, I may be more hesitant to disclose to avoid the session becoming about like, how can I fix my therapist? But it just comes with like kind of time and balance.
So my relationship with diagnosis is very...
I don't give a fuck about the diagnosis either. So that's like...
so it doesn't always come up in my session because I don't make it a big deal, though I give a client a diagnosis when I do their assessment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come up as much. And to Stephanie's point, if it's in the ADHD has been coming up a lot because it's something that adults are now figuring out that happens. And for me, like I've disclosed in this before, because of my diagnosis as a child is different. Yeah. So I'll share it when it's appropriate. And also like seasonal depression, again, when it's appropriate and when it's in relation in conjunction to it. Yeah. Now, when you're looking at diagnosis with BPD and bipolar, and
BPD, by the way, borderline personality disorder,
and bipolar disorder 1 or 2, depending on what it is.
I think that like both of them are very stigmatized, and so there's kind of already some like preloaded judgments around that. I think that from it being perhaps in like if I were the client, I would have some like judgments or concerns about that. Just because I
don't know if disclosing that.
I would be concerned about like how that came up, depending on how that comes up, but also like a challenge of BPD is like relationship challenges.
I don't know. So I don't know if it's disclosing it or simply saying I'm aware of that population or I'm familiar with working with that population. I think that
saying that you have bipolar,
it's a little bit of balance. I don't know, because I'm like, you don't want to shame people either.
It's not. I don't think it's necessarily about shaming, but then I don't know.
The way that I would say this for these, like, the only reason why I would maybe understand about the bipolar aspect of it is because of the manic, the potential, and you to have, as a therapist, if you're saying that to your client because you might be unreachable or not.
Right.
But I feel like there's a way to be like, hey, there might be a time where I may not be, accessible for this. Here are the things that I have in place for when that shows up. You don't have to tell them that it's because I have bipolar
my line of
or because I have, borderline. You could just say that, there are times that this shows up. Yeah. This is the protocol that I, have for this. Are you comfortable with that at that moment?
Now, if it flips in terms of you dealing with a client that has these diagnoses as well as you, to Tyler's point, is there...
I mean, I feel like if I have bipolar and my client has bipolar, I don't necessarily think that you have to, in the beginning, say
disclose
certain
that,
things, but you could say something along the lines of like, from my past experiences or from my kind of like learning history, when someone shows up in this way and
so it's in the wording,
something is what that is usually related to, a mania. Yeah. This is related to this. Have you, taken antidepressants before? What are your kind of your experiences with it? Do things get like, that's how I would say. Now, borderline is a very interesting tricky. Because the difference between borderline and bipolar is that bipolar is a mood disorder, meaning that there's a chemical imbalance. Like this, these folks cannot, they don't have a control over when in which that they shift from a depressive, low energy, feelings of sadness and worthlessness that are like chemically aligned to then this kind of manic, elevated, I can do anything, almost sometimes to the point where like euphoric, it can be a bit dangerous with the ways in which they're doing stuff. That's borderline personality disorder is more
a personality disorder.
And by personality, it means that it's a pattern of behavior that has been traced by not related to chemical imbalances, more around situational, relational, and other environmental factors that have nothing to do with chemicals, even though they could affect a person.
Which is what would be the concern for me, because I would immediately have thoughts around like, how did you become a therapist and why? With the BPD diagnosis.
Well, is that a bit judgmental? Right. There's also a rumor, but there's also a stereotype around people who get in our field, they have the most issues. They go in our field to understand
which
themselves.
Is perhaps a stereotype, and maybe it is true in some ways that like people who have had certain experiences then will become therapists and want to help. I think that can be a plus and sometimes a negative depending on how you handle things. But I also want to point out that like very many people with personality disorders will seek out helping professions. They will try to do things that are a part of helping professionals. So helping professions like
I feel like
doctors.
that's a blanket statement. Are you talking about narcissist personality disorder?
Sure. Narcissistic personality disorder.
What's it called? They will seek out help.
Sure. Like some, yes, like some people that, well, I'll stick to just a narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorders. There are certain personality disorders that you will find in the helping profession.
Yes.
So,
but helping professions that give you a certain status.
Sure.
Unfortunately, therapy
is not always on that list.
That's not the one that a narcissist will jump to if they don't have the IQ. Because that's really also the thing about it, is that if you're narcissistic and you're smart, you're going to go to these higher order. Same with
but you might find that with like doctors or people who may be working with more fragile populations because of that feeling of like being needed and like helping the needy.
Yes. And I will say, now that you're saying that, I don't say that I would have too much of a concern or a thing about like, oh, you have borderline, like how did you get here? What is your function? Because a lot of folks, even within therapy, there is a narcissistic tendency in all of us. We're ego driven to want to feel like we did something for someone else.
To want to feel validated in that way.
More around the things, I don't necessarily think that they would make it into our field, because if you think about where, like, there's this thing of like, always rejection, abandonment, and feel this
and that will come up in the therapeutic relationship.
Like the class, they'll quit this.
I don't think, because like, and also this constant thing of like wanting to die and to self-harm. Like, I don't think that you'll be able to manage all of that. And also like but
unless they're on heavy and good drugs,
right?
You know?
Or just well managed and like, because I don't want this to also feel like people who experience these things can't also do these other things. Like people can live a full life.
They're successful in their lives too, depending if it's the key word is manage.
Yeah.
And I just think when it comes to the therapeutic space, I just think there's things that are appropriate. That's just my own personal ethics. I think,
I agree.
And there's things that are not. Yeah. So therefore, I think when it comes to diagnosis like BPD, like bipolar, like all of that, there is a way to explain it that will make the client still feel like you understand their lived experience, and they're not without personally saying, "Hey, my name is Judeline, I got bipolar."
Yeah,
that type of thing.
I also ran through the streets naked. And
your client, there has to be some parameters. I think that's what makes it a medical service, and like you don't need to disclose all things. I think going back to my point from earlier, I think that the advice that Tia gave her supervisee was she challenged her to try to be relatable without talking about herself, without centering herself.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can connect in other ways.
Yeah,
this was good.
This was really good.
I'm gonna report back to y'all on how things go with my therapist. I did schedule another session.
We are extremely proud of you because I
scheduled another session, but I don't know. I was a little bit
you
like,
go with the butt already. You're negating.
I'm not. We met. It was fine. I felt like I know a lot about her.
Can y'all tell she don't trust a lot of people?
But I don't. Also, maybe the question. The thing that I have for you is, I wonder what it looks like for you to maybe set those parameters or boundaries early in your therapeutic session instead of waiting for her to see.
Well, I did. That's one thing that I approached the evaluation differently this time. I did kind of very clearly say, like, I do want to be humanized in this space. I did disclose that I was a therapist, which is something in the past that I've waited on a little bit. Mm-hmm. I did disclose that I was a therapist. We have like some weird similarities, like being in familiar places. We went to the same graduate school. So there was like
Are you feeling awkward about that?
I think that I did feel awkward initially, but not really anymore. I think it was just like, I was kind of surprised by it.
At least you know where her line of training from, like I told you.
What, right. Then that is something that I do trust. I will say that. But I think that, my approach was different because I did say, like, I want to be humanized in this space, and I have had the tendency to do X, Y, and Z in previous therapeutic relationships. And I really want to work on that, for sure.
Agree.
So,
and we encourage all therapists.
Yes, get your own support.
Or helping profession people, however you serve others, to also seek your own counseling services. It is needed.
Couch muffins, you guys need love and nurturing as well.
Couches.
The couchies.
Yes. So, yeah, you guys can find us. Send us your letters and confessionals at Couch Chronicles TAD@gmail.com. Follow us, subscribe.
All of it.
All of that.
And
Talk
don't
to
forget,
us.
if you want to get salacious and sexy, get us on
Hit us
Patreon.
up on
the word salacious, I need you
Patreon.
to use it differently.
Cha-cha-cha.
Because I just be thinking,
Stop. Shh.
okay.
Watch us on Patreon.
All right. Okay.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, friends.
Steph, Jay, Spot the Tie, Couch Chronicles. Steph, Jay, Spot the Tie, Couch Chronicles.